This is an Indiewire article, and this was dated March 23rd, so it's fairly recent. It's within the last couple of days. It says Netflix says production shutdown won't disrupt output until maybe later this year. Netflix chief content office Ted Sarantos says streaming numbers are surging as subscribers across the world practice social distancing. Production on Netflix original series have been shut down across the world, including on the streamer's blockbuster series Stranger Things and The Witcher. But the company isn't expecting any disruption in output for the foreseeable future. It says that they basically have a bunch of shows that are ready to go. And so they don't anticipate a problem until later this year. So I think Netflix is in a unique position because they have so much content that they have been producing. Apparently, there's going to be new stuff still coming out, at least probably until the end of the year, which puts them in a very powerful position because I think all the other streaming services are in a very weak position for new content right now. So this could be like this could be like a bomb in the streaming wars.
Yeah, I would say it probably will be, because we know that, for example, it seems like Disney didn't really have, for Disney Plus anyway, they didn't have all of their stuff kind of ready to go like you would have thought. They had quite a few productions in the can, but they still had stuff that was in active production that's currently on hold. So it's interesting because I've heard that because of what's going on, there's delays, for example, in Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's one of the ones that was supposed to be ready to go here pretty quickly. So yeah, it's interesting. They have a lot of stuff that's already wrapped and they're going to be ready to go. So that's very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. We have a question from Josh. Jas, I'm sorry. Do we know if Disney Plus will stream the new Mutants movie or delay a cinema release? And that's a great question. I don't think they know yet. I think that's the best answer. I don't think anybody knows yet because we already know. We touched on it. We didn't actually do a full article, but we touched on a previous episode that NBC Universal was going to start doing. They were going to start releasing on both. They were going to do video on demand and theater at the same time. And I think with most theaters closed, they're still sticking to their video on demand timetable. So they're still going to go start releasing new movies when they're supposed to be released, but they'll basically only be video on demand and then whatever few theaters are open, across the world. So it'll be interesting to see what Disney does, because what Disney's been doing is they've been advancing like the release on Disney Plus of movies that are out of the theater. Like Frozen 2 came out early. Rise of Skywalker came out early, right? So they've been doing that. It'll be interesting to see if Disney decides that content that they're sitting on, if they decide to go ahead and release it on Disney Plus, or if they decide to wait things out and literally just sit on it until the theaters are back open. That's a great question for a future installment of Streaming Wars, and we'll try to get more information on that.
Well, and if I remember correctly, I think he likes to go by James. I'm just going to say, James, I'm honestly of the opinion right now, is the new Mutants movie ever going to be released? Because this film apparently seems like it's cursed. Those that have been following the New Mutants film, I think this is like either the third or the fourth time that this film has been pushed from its release date. A lot of people had speculated with the launch of Disney Plus that maybe they might take this New Mutants film and somehow wrap it up. But of course, it may not fit with the Disney Plus sort of vision, because my understanding is with it being a horror movie, maybe it's a little bit too intense, to be part of the Marvel package. So then there was speculation, well, maybe they'll take it and they'll just shuttle it over here to Hulu, because Hulu has a lot of Marvel original content on already when you look at Runaways and you look at things like Cloak and Dagger, and maybe it might be a good fit over there. and yet they've held on to it, and they were going to release it in theaters. So it seemed like, okay, finally it's going to come out, because I'm quite curious to see it. I'm a fan of the New Mutants, um, and then here we go again. And like I said, I can't remember if this is the third or the fourth time that the release has been pushed. So now I'm of the opinion: will the New Mutants film ever be released at this point?
That's interesting. Peggy mentions that, she says, I think it comes down to how can they charge us with movies like Emma being charged on demand with a $20 price. I wasn't aware of that. So they're kind of charging, I guess, the same as what you would charge for, like, buying the Blu-ray or something like that. I wasn't aware of that. And also, how'd you say that his name is?
Just James. I think he likes to go by James.
Okay, so James says the WB delayed Wonder Woman 1984 to a July cinema release. I had not heard that. I wasn't aware that they officially pushed back the release of Wonder Woman. I think that was anticipated. But I'll say this: I could see the possibility when HBO Max comes out that they might debut it there. It just depends on how long things go the way they're going now. You know what I mean? The longer it goes, the more they're going to have to rely on the streaming content. The streaming wars, in a lot of ways, is taking on a completely new dimension with COVID-19, with the coronavirus. It's taking a completely different turn right now.
And
this is
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. It just said it's taking a completely different turn right now.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, there had actually been a lot of rumors actually surrounding Wonder Woman. A lot of people were thinking they were just going to release it, and just put it out for people to watch, pay to stream it. There was a lot of talk about that. There was, and apparently there were rumors that said that there was, quote unquote, some discussion of it, and then literally like the next day it came out that Warner's decided to push it back. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Peggy mentions they're going to hurt because a family going to movie comes out to around $35. And I get what you're saying, Peggy, but I don't know if exactly that's the case, because if you look at what Netflix has done, Netflix specifically avoids releasing a lot of their movies in theaters. In fact, there was some controversy with the Oscars where Steven Spielberg was pointing out these Netflix movies, they don't have theatrical releases, and yet they're being nominated for Oscars. It's like, how are they a movie, quote unquote? How is that really different from, say, a TV movie? And it comes down to, in some ways, splitting hairs, but in other ways, it's kind of like, I think it's legitimate. It's like, well, why can't a TV without putting it in the theater, and they're still eligible for Oscars. So obviously, they feel they've made the model work. Now, we've talked on previous segments of the streaming wars that they're also going into massive debt, but I don't know. They definitely. I mean, Netflix is the biggest streaming provider right now. So, and they do look, as we talked about in our previous article, they look positioned much better than everybody else for what's going on right now.
Yeah, I was just going to say, unfortunately, Peggy, from time to time, we sometimes have issues on the show with the stream kind of cutting out, and we do sometimes lose sound. I do think we kind of got the point of what Eric was bringing across.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that the feed cut out there. But I'm just trying to say that Netflix has kind of like, they only use the theatrical releases as sort of like a feather in their cap. It's not really part of their model anymore for making money. They've abandoned it almost completely, other than the prestige factor of like a premiere or something. So they're already doing it. They were already doing it before any of this started. So I feel like the other streaming services might very well follow suit because they have to. They don't have any choice.
Yeah.
It's the only way they're going to make money. Otherwise, they're sitting on content that's doing nothing for them, at a time that they can't release anything in the theater anyway. The theaters aren't open. And there's also a question about Mulan, and I have not heard if Mulan has been officially pushed back or anything. I haven't heard anything about Mulan.
Yeah, I haven't either. I haven't heard anything as well. So Mulan would obviously fit better on the Disney Plus platform. You know what I mean? And since they do have a content problem, but I don't know if they would take such an expensive film that they're hoping is going to do well overseas. I don't know if they would. You know what I mean? Do that.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because with the streaming services, there is an issue with overseas, like Disney Plus is not available everywhere overseas. CBS All Access is another good example of that. But Netflix is. Netflix has a big international presence, and in places that they don't have Netflix, they have licensing deals, so that they're even in that regard, they're situated better. Peggy does bring up, as I mentioned, the Oscars, about some of these films that will be up for an Oscar. But with these year's theaters down, Oscars will be interesting next year. I think that's true. I think the Oscars will be kind of weird next year. We'll have to see how that pans out.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, very cool. Thank you, everyone who's been chatting. These are all very interesting points. It's making for a very interesting discussion.